Hey folks, it's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back on The Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, and interviews. Also home to the best MJ community. Today is Wednesday, November 15th. Hope you're well and happy hump day. In this video, got an exciting update for you. We're going to be discussing a petition that is calling on Ottawa to increase edible limits in Canada. We know that we're currently sitting at 10 milligrams and they're looking to increase it to 100 milligrams, which would bring us in line with the US as well. I've done some videos in Colorado whenever I was visiting there, and the edibles are sitting at 100 milligrams per package, and they're not even legal at the federal level. So this is something that has been a long time coming. We're going to be discussing all of that and more, and this comes after the MJ Act is up for review in Canada as well. So before we get to it, make sure to smash the like. It helps support me in the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. If you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff, and you'll be notified on any future videos or whenever I go live. Also, make sure to give us a follow on X, which is previously Twitter. The handle for that is @GroupPow. Going to be using that as my platform of choice going forward. So as reported by the National Post, petition calls on Ottawa to allow more potent MJ edibles. Advocates want to raise the current limit from 10 milligrams to 100 milligrams THC. So Canadian MJ advocates are calling on the federal government to do more to fight illicit sellers by allowing for stronger edibles to be sold by licensed retailers. And we know that the federal government has stated not too long ago that it's time for the federal government to catch up with the MJ industry and to start supporting the MJ industry. And like I said, this is a long time coming after 5 years of legalization here in Canada, right? We're over 5 years and we still have that limit of 10 milligrams. They just upped the drinks from 355 milliliter cans to about 48. And eventually we're going to see, 6 packs, 12 packs, maybe even 24 packs sold in that product format. But again, this is a step in the right direction, and I would agree a lot of the black market is thriving because of these limitations and these caps on edibles. The call comes in the form of a petition in the House of Commons, which opened for signatures last week, calling on Health Canada to increase the maximum amount of THC permitted in edible MJ products from the current limit of 10 milligrams to 100 milligrams. Normal, who we've interviewed on the channel, Normal Canada Executive Director Geno Caveon told the National Post that impotent edibles are among the largest factors preventing licensed sellers from fairly competing with the black market. It's driving the market to the unregulated market, which licensed MJ retailers cannot compete with, she said. Providing safe, reliable, and tested higher dose edibles, Caveon said, will allow the legal marketplace a shot at competing with illicit sellers. And we know that they just can't compete, right? Because they have all of these quality, controls, quality assurance, and they're not able to drop the prices as low as the black market because they don't have the same regulations to adhere to, right? And we know it's very costly to maintain all of those Health Canada regulations and quality tests and whatnot, right? So MJ infused edibles, which is in most provinces largely consist of chocolate, cookies, candies, and drinks, are limited to a maximum of 10 milligrams of THC, the psychoactive compound in MJ, per package. While 10 milligrams is seen as an ideal starting point for beginners, they have a little effect on more experienced users with higher tolerance levels. And I would agree, right? We don't want to we want to start low and go slow, as they say. I know tons of people that 5 or 10 milligrams is enough for them. For example, my brother, he's been consuming MJ for many years, but his tolerance is pretty low, and usually that 10 milligram area is a good threshold for him. But myself, if I do 10 milligrams, it's not really going to do anything to me. It's usually around 30 to 40 where I start to feel the effects, right? So everybody's different, but I would definitely encourage people to start low and go slow. And this really comes more down to the educational aspect, right? People in the store, these bud tenders, can start to give people a little bit more of a lesson and education with regards to, the higher level potency, right? If they're going to sell 100 milligrams, make sure that you're letting the customer know, are you used to this? That kind of thing, right? Caveon, who also owns licensed Kingston, Ontario retailer Calyx Trichomes, said those limits are hindering legal retailers' ability to compete with illicit sellers whose selection of edibles is far more potent. And it's way cheaper as well. Like, you can get 100 milligrams on some gray market websites for like $5, right? Which we know the average 10 milligram pack here in Canada is around $4 or $5. The website of one popular Toronto-based illicit retailer regularly stocks high-dose edibles for sale or mail order, offering 1,000 milligram packages of MJ-infused chocolate bars, gummy bears, cookies, and other goods. Another website based out of southeastern Ontario First Nations Reserve also offers a wide range of high-potency edibles alongside a selection of chocolate infused with psilocybin mushrooms. Sam Gurgis, who owns Toronto-based independent retailer Mary Jane's MJ, said low-potency edibles are among many obstacles hindering legal sellers from competing with the illicit counterparts. No one who buys 100 to 1,000 milligram edibles on the streets is going to buy edibles from legal retailers, he said. Absolutely, I would agree. That's like selling non-alcoholic vodka and saying it's the real deal. Gurgis said that it's important for both the province and federal government to remove barriers for licensed sellers in order to help tackle the black market, including taxes, which he described as unbelievably burdensome. So on $113 his customers pay for an ounce of MJ, Gurgis said $13 of that is HST and $30 is excise tax, plus the $23 to $28 markup added by the Ontario MJ store, Ontario's legal MJ wholesaler. Between $66 and $71 of that $113 ounce is taxes, he said. This is not sustainable in any way, and I would agree. It's time for the federal government to catch up, not just with regards to limits. They started with the drinks, so that's great to see. But now we want to see that 10 to 100 milligram increase, and then we want to see even more than that, right? We want to see improvements to marketing and packaging and labeling and distribution and all this taxation that's hindering an industry as well, right? So you can see here that there's no reason why, there's definitely a reason why, rather, as to why we're seeing tons of challenges in the MJ industry, especially with the licensed producers, right? Because they're being hindered by all of these regulations and taxes. And we know that there's tons of producers that are going either insolvent, out of business, or bankrupt, right? And a lot of this has to do with that. And we need change in a big way, right? And even look at Fire and Flower, who's a retailer, just couldn't keep up with, the challenging market conditions. The government's legalization framework is currently undergoing a legislative review. So launched last September, nearly a year later than required under the MJ Act, the independent expert panel tasked with that review issued their first report last month. So again, I've been saying for a while now that I think there's going to be some major changes coming in 2024, both from a reform in the US perspective and Canada. I think we're going to see Schedule 3 at some point in 2024, and that will call for the removal of 280E tax burden in the US, and then we should see some improvements to packaging, labeling, advertising and marketing, and taxation here in Canada, and this is kind of a precursor into that. Many of those interviewed by the panel, the report states, argued against making large-scale changes this soon after legalization, with some even suggesting raising the legal age to 21. So they want to raise it from 18 to 21. In some provinces, it's 19. But I don't really agree with this. I don't think there's any real need to do that. But let me know in the comments below what you think of that. Many public health stakeholders and some provincial and territorial governments officials focused on reinforcing the value of existing regulatory controls such as THC quantity for edible MJ products and promotion restrictions to reduce harms, the report reads. The report also noted that 10 milligrams was established as a reasonable upper limit to avoid overconsumption by novice users, and that veteran users tend to prefer smoking and vaping their MJ rather than eating it. And if you're consuming any type of MJ flower, or if you're vaping and you're doing any kind of concentrates, distillate, or any kind of concentrates, you're getting way more than your 10 milligrams, right? So I think it's a long time coming, and it's time to make a change. In addition to being cost prohibitive, it was noted that some consumers do not wish to ingest more units of product to access more THC, the report read. Some researchers suggested that it is rare that higher dose edibles drive consumers to purchase illicit MJ, as consumers often cite convenience, price, and quality as reasons for purchasing illicit products. And that's something as well. They talk about the amount that they have to consume. So Caveon doesn't agree with that assessment, saying that the promise of higher potency edibles is absolutely keeping illicit sellers in business, despite serious questions over published claims of potency by some of these legal products. The other part of it is the amount of sugar you have to consume to get your regular dose, she said. I shouldn't have to eat a 10 fun-sized chocolate bar when I can just have a few squares of one chocolate bar if it has to be chocolate at all. And I would agree, right? If I buy a chocolate bar and it's 10 milligrams for the whole chocolate bar, and each individual piece is like 1 milligram or 2 milligrams, well, I don't want to have to eat like 3 or 4 chocolate bars just to feel something, right? Like, think of all the calories. And you're probably not going to feel too good after eating 3 or 4 massive chocolate bars. She said legal retailers just can't compete with the illicit market over edibles. Liberal MP Patrick Wheeler, the petition's parliamentarian sponsor, told the National Post more needs to be done to ensure Canadians have access to safe and tested products and not feel they have no choice but to patronize black market sellers. Consumers of edible MJ are seeking much higher limits than what is available through the legal market in Canada, diverting consumers to the illicit market or simply leading individuals to buy many packages to obtain the desired amount legally, he said. And this would cut back on cost too, right? If we're able to buy 100 milligrams in one package, then they're able to add more and you get better, add more potency, but the ingredients, this should still stay the same for one chocolate bar, right? The other ingredients, the non-MJ component. And then, like I said, they can add a little bit more THC, they can up the prices, but it wouldn't be as much as purchasing, 3 or 4 individual chocolate bars, right? Introducing this change, he said, will encourage consumers to buy legally while also addressing the added issue of wasteful packaging. Agreed. And the wasted calories and, another thing too is when it comes to, buying this stuff legally, it's just going to be, it's going to be convenient, but we need to get it in more widespread, like convenience stores and things like that, right? Not everybody wants to go to the dispensary to buy it as well. So there's so much, and they don't want the industry to get too big too quickly, right? So it's a crawl, walk, run approach. But like I said, we've been crawling, we've been walking, now it's time to run. An elevated limit further corresponds with the limits established in many of the U.S. states, which I mentioned earlier, that have legalized MJ for sale and use, Wheeler said. An assistant professor of McMaster University's Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Neuroscience said that the edible potency question is a good example of the divergence of drug policy between the needs of public health and the demands of the industry. Given the potential public health risks, I would place the onus on the petitioners to provide market research that shows there is truly high consumer demand for higher THC product, he said. And let me know in the comments below if this is something that you would advocate for, or if it doesn't really affect you at all. If the MJ industry and the government are sincere about wanting to compete with the unlicensed trade, they need to clean up the licensed one, which is fraught with regulatory violations, including poor product integrity, which includes use of unauthorized pesticides, mold, microbial, and chemical contaminants, incorrect labeling, and misrepresented products. These are the historical liabilities and the unlicensed trade that the licensed trade was supposed to fix. Caveon, however, sees it as much of an issue of the policing public attitudes as much as it is public health. If we want legalization to be a success, we can't be limiting the creativity of licensed producers, he said. Amen to that. This isn't an institutional product, it's recreational MJ, and it's literally meant for us to have fun. But as we know, there's also medicinal components to this as well, right? Medicine of the future, where it is helping a lot of people with certain ailments and stress, anxiety, epilepsy, all of that good stuff, right? And there's more and more research that's being done each and every day on breakthroughs of this medicine of the future in this amazing industry. So while recreational is important, we can't lose sight of the fact that this is actually helping people across the globe from a medical standpoint as well. But this is great to see. It was a little bit of a lengthy article there, but I wanted to go through that, give my thoughts and opinions, but I would love to hear your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Going to end it there, though, it's Rod with Power Group. Thanks again for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth. Have a great day, and we'll see you again on the next video.